Hey everybody, Hoople's Cat. Another week of misery for most of us in the world. A really strange week at that. I'm just going to start off with the gasoline shortages that everywhere's getting and the rationing. The federal government with the provincial governments have now decided to ration everybody to 1 tank of gasoline up here a week, 50 litres, and they've given everybody electronic cards. Kitty at the moment is actually in line. She's been there about 4 hours trying to get some gas. It's not really a good system because yes, once a week and then it expires, so basically everybody's trying to get gas at the same time, and it's becoming a real issue. I didn't get extra gasoline because of my job, but whatever. So everybody's frantically carpooling and doing whatever, and it's just a huge mess. Anyway, Canada's not really covering this other than just very informational sound bites on the news, but some of the American channels are covering it, so let's have a look and see what's going on. I'm sure all of you have spent many hours over the last couple of weeks in gas lines.
New York begins gas rationing Friday morning in response to the shortages.
Actually, we're from Brooklyn, and we came, there's just no real gas in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
We came in to Manhattan to get gas.
Wow. And an hour and a half, you said?
No, 2 hours.
Police will be at gas stations in New York City and Long Island to enforce the new rules.
We have to do something, and this is something that is practical and enforceable.
New Yorkers seem to like the decision.
I think it'll cut down the length of the lines.
I think that makes sense. I think that should have started from the beginning. I think, it would have eased up and you wouldn't have had this these long lines and, people trying to, fight for gas.
Mayor Bloomberg says he's not sure how long the system will stay in place.
As has become common in many states in the East, cars have been lining up before dawn. By the time the pumps opened, many had been waiting 2 and 3 hours for gas.
I've been here since 4:30 this morning. It's ridiculous waiting online here. I couldn't get gas Tuesday. The block was the line was about 8 blocks long. It was ridiculous. It was unbelievable waiting online. I can't take it anymore. I've been carpooling. It's my turn to get gas, and thank God I'm able to get gas today. I don't care how much it costs. I just got to get gas. Got to get to work.
People are very desperate. They depend an awful lot upon their cars, and it seems to be no limit to how far they'll go to keep driving that car.
I spend every day 3 hours on the line. I am always nervous about gas. I can't concentrate on my work. I always have to look at my gas gauge and find out where I can get gas. I went out this morning. We had a lot of work on the radio. People that called for cabs. I couldn't answer the calls. My tank is almost empty.
My patience is wearing very thin because everybody comes in, all they want to talk about is gasoline. When are you getting a delivery? When can I get the gasoline? Can I leave the car overnight?
It's going to be rough. It's going to be a lot of trouble. These lines got to shorten up. It's going to be really rough.
Come on, gas. Tomorrow morning. Get up at 3 in the morning.
Waiting online for over an hour and a half and to be the last one, you get no gas. I think it's disgusting.
That goddamn governor, he's going to police this goddamn gasoline situation. I will not take the blame for this thing. I will not take the crap and the harassment from these customers. Now let him police it or stop selling gas.
This lady, talk to this lady, Ed.
I'm not talking to anybody. You get the governor down here, let him worry about how he's going to sell this gasoline. The dealers will not be subjected to this harassment.
We'll get gas when you'll be, this afternoon you'll be able to charge for half.
Yeah, I'll bet you there's no gas even at that price. What do you think of that?
Well,
I'll bet you there's no gas.
I heard this morning
well, you get the gas down
Commissioner of Energy from Washington, and they claim there's gas.
What about?
I mean, this is ridiculous.
I have to travel. I can go on disability. I got to wear 2 split braces. What does a person like myself do?
To turn you down the list. Why didn't they come out and tell us there was no gas? 3 or 4 cars. No, they did not. No man ever
8 o'clock.
told.
Were you supposed to pump at 8 o'clock? It's a quarter to 9. What are you doing in line?
Told us.
What are you doing
Never.
in line? A quarter to 9.
What
We're only
I'm doing,
supposed to pump to 8 o'clock.
I have to be at work at 8.
Generally speaking, there isn't that much violence breaking out on the gas lines. Most people are trying to figure out using neighbours, family, friends, stuff like that. And it seems to be kind of sort of working. The main issue is that other than essential driving, and it really is only essential, and then cars are like usually stuffed with people because they're using apps to get people to carpool with them for obvious reasons, with gasoline being $10 to $14 Canadian a litre, around about 10 US. They're also looking at trying to reduce the price of the gas, but at the moment they're using it really as a rationing tool as well as rationing. So yeah, you're on the database, your car is registered and you can get 50 litres a week and that's it. And you can't store it up, you can't go 2 weeks and get 100. Tempers are flaring, but people kind of get it. We're all in the same boat, which is kind of one of the nice things. It's like there isn't like obvious rich cars flying around. The police and the fire services and the ambulances are doing what they can as well. And it's interesting, like buses are still on the roads, but I think there's about maybe 5% of buses are still on the road from what they were 3 months ago, and they're essential use only, and they don't stop, and they're going main route to main route. So you got to walk sometimes half a kilometre or half a mile to actually get to a bus, and then the lineups there are horrendous. So a lot of people are on bicycles up here, which is fine until it starts snowing. One of the good things of all of this is the air is actually noticeably cleaner already in Toronto, and at the hospital we've had a huge reduction in traumas from car accidents, huge reduction. But the price of this is the economy that already was stagnant has been basically throttled. I mean, with the UAE and the Saudi supply pretty much contaminated onto the rigs, the oil in the ground isn't contaminated, thank God. So they are worried about seepage from the Strait of Hormuz into the oil eventually. Like, they're doing everything they can to try and actually get the oil out safely, but obviously oil rig workers, even at the prices they're getting and the equipment they're giving, really don't want to spend any length of time pumping oil in a radioactive environment, and I can't really say I blame them. There's been some discussion with using army, but again, it's the same thing. It's not like you're going into a room in a sealed suit and then leaving and you're fine. The radioactive cloud is just all over those countries, and you're there for 3-4 days. They're trying to rotate people every 24 hours out, but they're getting significant dosage, and that's why the oil supply is really plummeting. A third of the world's oil came through that strait, and it isn't moving. Nobody wants to be on a boat in the Strait of Hormuz, and I don't blame them. The radioactive level is still pretty high. The Iranian bombs, the 3 bombs they set off, were very, very dirty in terms of radioactive decay material, a lot of cesium and tritium. It's bad. Anyway, just going to finish up on the gasoline thing with a report out of the States again. Like I say, Canada's news is not really reporting news anymore. It's basically a government propaganda argument, and you can sort of see the sense to that.
Long lines continue at gas stations as the state enters its second day of rationing. MSNBC's Richard Louis is live for us in Teaneck, New Jersey. So, Richard, with a hello, how about this rationing system? Is it actually working?
It is so far, it appears, Alice. Good day to you. They haven't seen a rationing system in this state like this since Gerald R. Ford in the 1970s. It's really simple. On an even day like today, November 4th, even numbered license plates can come and get gasoline. On an odd day like tomorrow, November 5th, if you have an odd number license plate like that one over there, 4705, that's when you get gas. What is in question for some, though, is what if you have a gas canister? This is what happened earlier today.
Call the cop, boss. Call the cop. Call the cop. What? Why you shut off the gas? It's okay. You're in trouble. You're going to give me a gas.
So that was the conflict a little bit earlier here. The gas station owners, that's up to them whether or not they'd like to allow gas canisters to be filled. The line here, about an hour and a half, 56 long. Alex, 3 people who had odd number license plate got kicked out a little bit earlier today by the police. Back to you.
So as of yet, we've used 20 litres of my store, and I'm not allowing Kitty to use the other 20 litres. I want to have some capacity to react if we have to move and there is no gasoline, because there's increasingly large numbers of gas stations that are only open for an hour or 2 hours a day, and then the police descend and police the lines up here. And it's an ongoing issue. The other thing that people are doing in the local area around Newmarket and also everywhere else, as far as I can tell in the GTA, is having yard sales. It's really sad. Like, people are bringing almost anything out onto the sidewalks on weekends and during the week even, and offering anything that you want to give cash for, because a lot of people have credit cards, and most of the credit cards have been suspended because of the banking collapse. So people don't have any money to buy food, and food is really expensive, and they don't have any gasoline to go and get the food, and so they have to walk there. But like, I mean, pricing is like crazy. A loaf of bread I think is now about $22, $23 if you can get it, and that's the thing, right? It's pretty bad. Luckily I've got a lot of prepper stores and stuff like that stocked up, so I'm not feeling hunger, but I'm pretty sure a lot of my neighbours are, and that's putting me in a bit of a quandary. Do I help them out and assume this is going to be a short-term thing, or do I pretend not to have anything and wait it out? I don't know. It was so simple before this happened. You would do this, you would do that, and people were online selling bug out rolls and all sorts of things and telling people all sorts of nonsense with absolute certainty. But what are you doing? Like, what are you doing now? Now that your neighbours who you know are going hungry night after night? It's a toughie. It's a really toughie. There is rule of law. Just going to show this. The other night, I didn't want to lead with this because I always like to talk about interesting stuff towards the end of my videos, but two of the local guys at the halfway house decided to try and break into my house last night, and one of them is dead and the other one ran off wounded, because I'd already put a security plan in place and I'm not allowing people into my house. That's the end of it. If you're trying to come into my house, I assume you're going to kill me and rape and then kill Kitty, and I'm not standing for it. But you know, I got 5 cop cars here, and I thought I'd have to go to the station and make a statement. They came for about 10-15 minutes, got the body removed, took some photographs, asked me some questions. That's it. That's the price of a human life now. Cops don't have the time or the gasoline to deal with this sort of a thing, and they're not. And they're just filling in forms, tidying up boxes, and going off. Anyway, I don't have any qualms about it. It was pretty clear that I was defending my territory, and it was pretty clear they were also armed and dangerous, and they have criminal records. So computers are up. Cops know who's a good guy and who's a bad guy. And yeah, it shook me quite a lot. Luckily, Kitty wasn't in the house. She was at work, so she missed it, and she's pretty upset, being a nice pacifist vegan. But I'm not negotiating with people trying to get into my house who are armed. Just not. Anyway, just wanted to update you guys what's going on locally. We're still working too much. We're still getting paid, but nowhere near as much as we were. Everything's expensive. Everything's a struggle these days. People are banding together in small communities to carpool and also to share getting gas. That seems to be working. I'm probably going to start feeding the neighbours soon, I think. I think it's in my own best interest, to be honest with you. And still, the government has put the rationing protocols in place, and they're on about reducing the price and increasing supply and all of this stuff. Hopefully it'll all work out. Stock market's still dead in the water, and massive layoffs are still going on almost daily all across the world. India and China and Vietnam are really having problems because they were so dependent on the West buying their stuff, and we're not buying anything. And it's causing enough problems for us, but down there apparently it's really, really bad. So next week I want to focus on how China's government is actually trying to militarize itself even further than it has been doing, and also the political situation up here as well, and in Canada and in America and in Britain. There's been a whole bunch of issues going on. The rule of law is still in place, and it's being held in place by curfews in a lot of areas and by shooting on sight in some areas. And that's in Europe. It's even worse elsewhere where they didn't have much to start with. Anyway, you guys stay safe and look after each other and look after your communities, and try and figure out what you can do to try and help get the economy going again, because I have no idea. And to be honest with you, I don't think Trudeau, Trump or Sanders or Johnson or anybody has any idea. Take it easy.